Morning, chaps. How's it going? It's time for yet another edition of the finest news reporting show this side of the Atlantic Ocean. Fuck knows. Anyway, it's the Shite, you see, on the BBC. I know it's only been 3 days, but I've got a full-on beard now. I got drunk a couple of times since they opened the fucking bars out here, and I've fucking suddenly got a chin like Chewbacca's scrotum. It's a bit weird. You know, we had a moustache growing contest when I was in Afghanistan. Amusingly, it is actually on the BBC website still, which I just found. I remember reading it years ago, and I won that fucking competition. I got a little certificate and everything. I might not have been the fastest or the strongest fucking Marine, but I was definitely the hairiest. Anyway, it's going to be a bit shit this week, isn't it? Because fucking it's been completely one-dimensional, the news, especially on the BBC. Just endless, unending, relentless fucking race-baiting drivel from everybody's favourite taxpayer-funded propaganda fucking division. This one, you have to laugh at the irony, right? Because it's Gone with the Wind removed from HBO Max. Now, you can sort of understand why they've done it, because that Tom and Jerry era stereotype. You remember the cartoon woman who used to go, Thomas, Thomas. That's obviously what they based it off. And you have to laugh. But fucking hell. Hattie McDaniel, the actress in the film, the black woman, actually won a fucking Oscar for it. So it seems a bit backwards to me that one great moment there where you're like, yes, a woman of colour won an Oscar. Now no cunt's going to get to see her performance. Just hide it away. Put it in a shoebox, shit in it, and fucking bury it. Because that's what you may as well do with that Oscar-winning performance. Because no cunt's going to see it. None of this generation's going to even know who she is. So is that going forward or is that going backwards? That amazing, pioneering moment in African-American cinema. In fact, no, you know me, I don't like the word African-American. I'm not using it. It's black. No, nobody who's black minds you saying the black. And we don't, in Europe, we think it's a bit backwards to call someone African-British or African-Scottish. Like, if your mum and dad emigrated to Scotland in 1960 and you were born and raised there and talk like Uwo fucking Wooly and sit on a bucket all day, do you think you should be called African-Scottish? I don't think so. You're just fucking Scottish. Call me a racist cunt. I just think you just should call them Scottish. But what do I know? So anyway, black woman, got an Oscar, 1939, come on. Product of its time. But no, it's gone. Fuck you. Hattie McDaniel, you are consigned to the dustbin of history for wrongthink, and you fucking deserve it. Welcome to the brave new world, Hattie. Keep your arms and legs inside the cart at all times. It's a bumpy fucking ride. Up is down, left is right, and nobody knows what the fuck is going on anymore. Closer to home for me, the Atlanta police chief resigned over the Rashad Brooks shooting, right? This really is going fucking mental. So, if you watch the footage, it's always a white guy holding the fucking sign, isn't it? Like, that's the world we live in. Getting selfies and fucking holding signs. Anyway, if you watch the footage, he's rolled about on the floor with the coppers for minutes, like proper fighting with them for ages. Two coppers. Then he disarms one of them, gets his taser off him. Then he starts legging it. The copper's chasing him. He then spins around and fires the taser at the copper. And at that point, the copper's partner shoots him. And, you know, I've talked about the police brutality loads of times. It's shocking. And most of the times, there's no need for them to shoot anyone. But when you've literally had a guy resisting arrest for minutes, fist fighting with coppers for fucking ages, rolling around on the floor like a silly cunt, and then he disarms one of them and shoots at them. Maybe the partner didn't know exactly what weapon it was, I don't know. I mean, the yeller, so that's probably not an excuse. But anyway, it's certainly probably up there with, yeah, I reckon this is probably not a questionable shooting. Like, if you don't want to get slotted by the coppers, don't punch them in the face 40 times over a 5-minute period, maybe. Don't do the fucking front crawl on a copper's face in the car park. Like, maybe if you didn't do that, you wouldn't get shot. But apparently, you can't even shoot them when they do shit like that. Resisting arrest, disarming a policeman, discharging his firearm. You're not even allowed to do it then, because if you do that, they set the fucking Wendy's on fire. And the funniest thing is, What the fuck has it got to do with Wendy's? I like the way it said contains upsetting images. It's upsetting if you fucking love Wendy's. And I do like Wendy's. But what's it got to do with Wendy's? If two coppers shot a black man in my street, I'd hate to think they'd come to my house and set the fucking street on fire. What are you doing that for, lads? Oh, two coppers shot a man near your street. Therefore, it's your fault. Like, so I do not understand what it's got to do with Wendy's. The poor bastards. The geographical location of the shooting determines who the fucking perpetrator was, apparently. Yeah. The officers need to be arrested, period. Watch the video if you want. It's boring. He fell asleep in the drive-through queue as well, so he was obviously minging. I don't know what to say about it, really. I very rarely agree with the coppers shooting someone, but if you're talking a 5-minute fist fight and then disarming one of them, like, it's just let them arrest you. I don't understand how you can't get this through people's heads. And they keep going on about how terrified they are to be black in America. Well, you can't be that scared if you're bringing your kids up and saying, I'll tell you what you should do if the police pull you over. What you should do is, you should punch them in the face repeatedly, roll around on the floor like a daft cunt for 5 minutes, and then make a grab for the gun, and then, while running, fire it at them. Yeah, you should do that. If you're scared for your life, because being black's so bad in America, you should definitely have fist fights with coppers regularly. Yeah, cheers then. Thanks, Ma. You make of that what you will. I don't think they believe their own bullshit, these fucking activists. I really don't. There's a nice piece here about what the thug white privilege and ally mean. These need to be explained to us, apparently. They said even that's a racist word, apparently, because we brought it from India. Well, half the fucking words we use are brought from India. In the Marines, you don't call it your laundry, you call it your doby. Apparently that's an Indian word. I think they're a class. It's actually a sort of underclass. But we also get the doby dust. Do your doby. It's not racist. I mean, is that the world we're living in? If you start using someone's word, it's cultural appropriation, and therefore it's racist. And if you don't use the words, well then, that's because you're racist, because you don't like them. You're not interested in their culture. It's like, how do we win? I don't want to use them Indian words. Racist. Oh, let's use the Indian words. Cultural appropriation, therefore racist. How do you win? How do you win this game? Fuck knows. 2 members of a reality TV show have been sacked over a prank on a black co-star. Called the police on her for a laugh. Not really a laugh. They said they have apologised, they didn't appreciate the impact their actions could have caused, and therefore fired them. My privilege blinded me. So you can't play pranks on black people anymore either. Apparently this is progress, right? Just treat them like fucking aliens, and apparently that's progress. Yeah. In the military, you play plenty of pranks on fucking everybody because of a very egalitarian place. But they're not going to be happy until we've literally brought segregation back. It's going to be like, we can't interact with them, we can't play pranks on them, we can't take the piss out of them, we can't use their things. Let's just self-segregate. Let's put them in a room, build a big wall around it, and never ever talk to them ever again. Progressive. It's not progressive, it's fucking retarded. You've also had endless playing of the race card. Like, the BBC will just never stop with it. Keisha Buchanan, oh yeah, people were racist to me. I can find 30 stories about this from this week. The BBC is just endless. Generic woman of colour gets bullied could be the headline for about 60 stories on the BBC this week. Kesha said she experienced the trauma of racism. Let me again use this. I know this is going to make me sound like callous, but is it trauma to feel hurt and offended and upset? And all of the things you could associate with, like, bullying, because that's basically what it is. Is it really that much worse if it's based around your colour? Like, you get little kids, thousands of them up and down the country, who commit suicide because they feel so hurt and afraid and ashamed, lonely and depressed. When people mock them, it could be, you're fat, you're ginger. Yeah, no one wants to be ginger. That's just a known fact. Fox piss. That is the worst insult you can call someone. I think being called fox piss and being pointed out that when you're a ginger, you just inherently smell like a fucking canine mammal's urine. I think that's worse than racism, but that's just my opinion. Acne, yeah. If you've got a fucking head that makes you look like you've been apple bobbing in a fucking deep fat fryer, there's definitely some insults going to come your way. There's loads of things you can torture people from when they're in school. Acne, the weight, the hair, their appearance, the fucking teeth. If you look like you could eat an apple through a tennis racket, you're going to get tortured. Like, I can reel off the things that we butchered people for when I was at school. And it's bad. Like, you call people them names relentlessly. They burst into tears. They fucking hack this fucking wrist to bits. They start self-harming. There's loads of things to do with bullying. So why is it logical or reasonable to say that if you're white, you can never understand it? Like, I can't understand what it's like to be called racial names, but I can understand what it's like to be vilified and ridiculed and mocked constantly and basically be so depressed you stop fucking eating and turn into a human skeleton. Because that's what it seems to happen to a lot of the women. It's worse for birds, I think. Because in my school, it was like the lads. You get bullied and then you smack someone in the mouth and then you get filled in. It's like violent. But women fucking torture each other. Like, we used to just fucking fill each other in and pinch each other's stuff and, you know, slap each other about and that. But the lasses were just relentless mockery. I think that's worse. Like, that must be why more women get fucking anorexia and bulimia and shit, because they're just getting fucking relentlessly abused. So I'd like to know, like, if you were like really bullied endlessly at school and you've still got hang-ups from it, like mental trauma, what's so bad about racist taunting? Like, honestly, if you're a big fat spotty ginger fucking freak show with a fucking teeth like a witch doctor's necklace, you were just a walking horror show and you got butchered relentlessly in school, I think you fully understand what it's like to experience prejudice. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. And I think the suicide figures and the mental health figures and all that stuff would back me up. Kesha's doing fine, trust me. Anyway, read the story. It's a pile of fucking shite, like everything the BBC write. Yeah, and then Rennie Edo Lodge breaking the book chart record. Of course she is. She's criticised the publishing industry. Again, everything. If you want black people to sell more books, write better books, write more books. People will buy them. There's lots of great black writers. But guess what? We don't categorise them by the colour because that's fucking racist. It's retarded. It's going back to Jim Crow era America. Imagine, what should we start really having? Black book areas. Like you go into Waterstones and there's a big section taped off. Black books only. Is that progress? Because Rennie Edo Lodge thinks it is. Her book went to #1, but she said it's a horrible indictment of the publishing industry because it only came about after George Floyd died. So her piece of shit book finally gets to #1 and she goes, that's a terrible indictment of the publishing industry. If it wasn't for the tragic murder, my book definitely would have been #1 because I'm hot shit. Sorry, doesn't work that way, love. Readers like reading. They will read a good book. There's been lots of black bestsellers. It's not because you're black, it's because you can write. Like, again, you tell me which one of us is the fucking prejudiced knobhead. These people that are obsessed with the race and want to have their own little special black book section, or people who just say, write a good book and I'll buy it. So Rennie's a fucking nutter. And listen, I'm going to rap on it there. I'm not going to rap on all these racial fucking stories because there's just endless amounts of them. The one thing I want to finish with is a really painfully obvious depiction of the BBC bias, because we all saw the headline last week, which I shared on my last video, about 27, it was everywhere on social media, 27 police injured after relatively peaceful protest was the BBC headline. Like, 27 police injured, but it was peaceful. And look how they covered yesterday's protests. It says, more than 100 arrests after violent clashes with police. Instead of watching all of their cherry-picked footage, as always, just use your common dog and actually read the fucking story instead of concentrating on the headline. And draw your own conclusions. They love sharing that picture of the bloke pissing next to the memorial as well. You know, I think he was probably drunk and he didn't even know it was there, because he's not pissing on the memorial, is he? It also said he handed himself in after it was pushed around. So he was probably mortal drunk, staggered off, had a swamp up against a pillar, and then woke up the next day and went, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, I don't think he's done that on purpose. Because, like I said, he's not pissing on the memorial. If you were doing it to rub someone's nose in it, you'd be like, fuck off, PC Palmer, swamping all over it, wouldn't you? As opposed to just round the corner from it. But that's my opinion. We'll see. I do want to know as well what they're going to do him for. Like, public urination, you don't get jailed for that. You get fined. So they're going to come up with some trumped up charge for it because it's upset them. Like, what they're going to do? Public urination next to a place that we really, really like. Like, what's the change in the law there? I'm not trying to defend the guy, because, yeah, he shouldn't have done that, but it doesn't look to me like that is malevolent. He's just having a swamp, because all the toilets were closed, there was nowhere to have a piss. They do that on purpose as well, so they can arrest you. Because they know when you've had 8 cans, it's going to be 20 minutes before you need a piss. And then they can jump on you and stick you in the cells. I hate Tobias Ellwood, by the way. He's a proper snake, rat bastard. He's always been against Brexit. He's just a fucking twat. Tobias Ellwood is interested in Tobias Ellwood. And that's all there is to it. He's just a typical posh fucking arsehole. The riot shields and the fucking battens were out in full. They were caving fucking heads in left, right and centre. But if you go down and read it all, it says, officers were pelted with missiles as well as being kicked and punched. 6 police suffered minor injuries in the clashes. 6. That's 6, right? 6. Just so you all can see that. 6 police suffered minor injuries in the clashes. Anyway, what's painfully obvious is that the reporting is blatantly one-sided, and you can see this by just scrolling through the differing stories. Like, that is fucking bedlam. And you had 27 police officers get hospitalised. That one isn't bedlam, that's orderly, because you've got fucking blokes with the full shebang on, big fucking helmets, riot shields and massive truncheons, more than willing to dish the beats out to middle-aged men in flat caps. I'll just finish with this, right? I don't even want to read Dominic Casciani's ridiculously partisan, absurdly ridiculous little shit piece there. It's like a hit piece but worse, a shit piece. It's basically saying, despite their claims they wanted to defend British heritage, they're all violent thugs and it was awful. The short version is simply this. It is obvious to everyone watching that the police are not enforcing the law equally. The tenet of the law, justice is blind, everyone gets treated the same. That's not happening. They're visibly far more aggressive and far more willing to arrest the right-wing lads than they are the Black Lives Matter commie, Marxist madfuckers. It's blatantly obvious. They're more than happy to assault the white lads. They're more than happy to arrest them. They arrested 4 times as many people, despite the fact there was hardly any casualties on the side of the police, and they were much less aggressive and violent. The BBC's footage is the same. It's blatantly obvious to anybody that's got eyeballs and fucking ears. And this is why it's important, right? Again, why is it left to me to spell it out when it's so fucking obvious? I don't know why. But here it is. When it's blatantly obvious that the law isn't getting forced equally, people are going to get angry. When it's blatantly obvious that they're happy to leave, there's pictures of like black dudes kicking and punching and knocking the shit out of people with weaponry. And it doesn't seem like any of them get arrested. The police just let them do it. When that happens, centrists and normal people who have always rejected the far right are going to go, well, if they're not applying the law, they're not enforcing the law, and they're not applying justice and media correspondence equally and fairly, well then, clearly it's not working by being a sensible chap and just going to the ballot box. Fuck this, I'm going to start voting for the lunatics. And that's what'll happen. And instead of, they call everyone far right now. Priti Patel, far right brown woman. Boris Johnson, far right liberal. Fucking far right Jews. It's ridiculous. They call everyone far right. And what you're going to get is you're going to get an actual far right start getting popular. Not David fucking Cameron, far right. They will get more popular if this keeps going on. So BBC and the state and the police, sort it out, lads. I'm not far right. I don't want to see this happen. Most people don't. But if you don't get a grip, start enforcing the law equally for everyone, as it was intended by John Locke and Robert Peel, and the founders of our fucking country's big institutions. Get a grip, because if you don't sort it out, people are going to start voting for someone that will fucking sort it out. Yeah? That's all I've got to say on that matter. I think it's common fucking dog. And on that depressing note, after a shit week, I'll can it there. Hopefully we can get back to the good stuff next week, like nonsensical fucking drivel about lesbians. Cheers.